I'd like to call on Councillor Siemens to bring the opening, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's that time of year when it's fall, and it's one of my favorite times of the year. And just to realize again that it's one short year since our last city election, and it's only 3 short years to go as this council before we again will be at the polls. But fall's always been the best time of year for me. The grass has finally, hopefully, stopped growing, so I don't have to mow anymore. Our flowers are going dormant for the winter, and hopefully the bugs will stop after the first hard frost. This last weekend, we traveled through southeastern Manitoba, and the trees are starting to show their fall colors. My favorite trees in Steinbach are changing colors, like the basswood on 3rd Street, or the small basswood linden on Barkman, or even the ash trees on Main Street are starting to really show their fall colors. Fall is a time of Thanksgiving as we celebrate our bountiful harvest with many different fall suppers, family gatherings, and getting ready for winter. I am thankful for our healthy family and the ability to travel without the need to ask for permission from anybody except Audrey as we travel this weekend to Alberta to see our daughter. We've had a lot to be thankful for as a city. Our street construction is finally coming to an end and are again open to regular traffic. We continue to have growth in our residential, business, and commercial areas. Our summer recreation programs were full, and many of our winter programs are now full as well and underway. We have churches in Steinbach that continue to grow and social programs that get many of their needs met. We can be thankful that we live in a democracy that allows us to voice our political views without fear of persecution. We can believe in our God as we understand Him, and do not have to fear censorship with freedom to live out our faith. When I hear about the different world events, I'm thankful for a community like Steinbach and a country like Canada that I can live in, raise my family, ride my bike, work at the job I choose. We are truly a blessed people.
Thank you, Councillor Siemens. We have the agenda in front of us. I've been notified by Councillor Terry Penner that you'd like to bring a police advisory group report, and so we'll put that at 12A. And Councillor Susan Penner has asked to do a notice of motion. That's 12B. Can I have a motion to approve the amended agenda, please? Councillor Penner, second by Councillor Funk. Any discussion? Call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. We have minutes from September 15 in front of us on page 1 and 2. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes, please? Councillor Fair, second by Councillor Swagstra. Any discussion? Call for the question. All those in favor? We have no public hearings, no delegations. We have the Capital Works Program Engineering Contract on page 4. The working team, I'll ask you to introduce this, please. 8A.
Sorry, I missed that.
Sorry, 8A, 2016 Capital Works Program Engineering Contract Award. You have a recommendation that you've given to us?
Yes, I do. On page 4 of Council's agenda package, this is one of a few engineering proposals that the city has received and is considering with respect to the 2016 Capital Works Program. This particular contract exceeds the approval authority that is within my capabilities within the purchasing and tendering bylaw, so it has been forwarded to City Council for consideration. Proposal is from SBC Inc. To provide the design and tender services for the 2016 Capital Works Program, also included in the detailed proposal that was attached, for the amount of $510,900. Plus applicable taxes. Recommendation is that Council award this contract.
Thank you. How would Council like to proceed? Motion to approve. Second, Councillor Swagstra.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think the motion is relatively straightforward. We obviously have some significant work happening in 2016 regarding our capital works plan. We have a number of streets that are being resurfaced as part of our Ashmont overlay program. We also have some significant road reconstruction happening on Elmdale Street. In order to make sure that we are able to do our planning and make sure that we have everything lined up in regards to design and tender and all that process, we need to have things set out in terms of the engineering process. And so this is normal procedure for the city that we award this engineering contract to a firm. And in this case, the city staff has consulted with SBC Inc. And based on the recommendation of the city manager, I think it's appropriate to accept.
Thank you. Councillor Funk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do support the engineering contract. It's just, I have a question if I could ask the administration through you. Is this the contract that Councillor Fair had brought forward or had asked about doing this all in 1 year at one time?
There was that question that was posed by Councillor Fair at a previous council meeting. What this proposal will consider is that the original preliminary design for the remaining section of Elmdale Street will be considered within this proposal. It will provide some continuity with the work that is also being proposed for Barkman Avenue for 2016. What it will do is provide an option that if City Council ultimately chooses to proceed with the construction of Elmdale Street in 2016, the preliminary work will be completed and the City can make that decision at a future date.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. That gives clarification to the second paragraph on 27, on page 27, Phil Kalita's report. Thank you very much. And yeah, I will support this. I have no further comments. I just wanted that clarified.
Thank you. Councillor Siemens.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to administration. Can you confirm on the letter from on the summary page on page 4? It says the purpose of the engineering of the City of Steinbach is to follow a single source process. Can you explain that process?
Normal process within the city's purchasing and tendering bylaw requires that a competitive bid process be used. With respect to most of its construction contracts that are considered, there is an opportunity within that same policy document that, depending on circumstances and situations, that single source, such as engineering services like this, can be pursued. Because the city does some extensive preliminary work and consultation with a variety of engineering firms like this, in the best interests of continuity in the plan and the design process, the recommendation is that the city proceeds with this proposal as is, rather than pursuing a formal competitive bid process with a number of different engineering firms. This follows a very similar process that the city has in place every year. There is a wide range of review that's done of a multiple number of engineering firms each year, and based on the overall best analysis by administration, SBC Inc. was chosen as the best alternative for this particular project.
Thank you. Further discussion? Councillor Fair.
Further to that, Mr. Mayor, no, it says it's a percentage, you use a percentage of what the anticipated expenditures are going to be. Does that hold true with the other engineering firms as well? Do they work on a percentage?
It's a pretty standard...
It's in line with what they would be charging?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you. Further discussion? Anything in closing?
Just briefly, Mr. Mayor, I think it's important that we continue with our planning process. Obviously, the engineering contract is part of it, and as has been noted, because it's based on a percentage of what the total cost is, the cost isn't going to vary a lot depending on engineering firms. And so I think in this case it's appropriate that staff follow their normal policy.
Thank you. Council, obviously we don't, year to year, we often don't see this in front of us for approval. It actually gets approved by staff, but because we have significant infrastructure that we are continuing to work on in our important underground programs and our asphalt overlay programs and so on, I think it's that is why it's in front of us, because it exceeds the limit of staff. So we have significant projects moving forward, and look forward to those happening so that we can continue to improve our basic infrastructure. Call for the question. All those in favor? We have 9A, the accounts payable in the back of the book. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Siemens, seconded by Councillor Fair. Any discussion? Call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. We have 9B, the financial statement for August 31st. Can I have a motion to approve, please? Councillor Fair, second by Councillor Funk. Any discussion? Call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. We have the farm use payback on page 28. Mr. Workington, you want to just explain this briefly to us?
This item is found on page 28 of your agenda package. Farm use payback is an item that essentially is the same as an added tax bill. However, it pertains to a particular type of property that is classified as farm use assessment. When there happens to be a property with that assessment designation and it is repurposed for an alternate purpose, in this case as institutional, what this farm use payback does is it calculates the difference between the former farm taxes and the taxes that would have been calculated as assessed as a regular farm property.
Thank you. Is that clear to council? All right. There's a resolution on the bottom of page 28. Can I have someone move that, please? Councillor Fair, second by Councillor Terry Penner. Any discussion?
Just a little bit further, Mr. Mayor, I believe that it claws it back 5 years to just to in an effort to make it fair. Anybody that has farmland in the city and wants to do something with that property, they can pay farm tax on it for the time, and then once they change the use of it, then they change it to they pay back 5 years of the tax that it would be at that. So,
Mr. Workington, this is a provincial rule. Is that correct?
Yes.
Call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. We have 9D, the accounts payable or accounts receivable transfer to taxes on page 29. Any questions on that before we proceed? I have a motion then to approve this. Councillor Fair, second by Councillor Funk. Any discussion? Call for the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Carried. Any questions of council? We have the correspondence and petitions, 11A from the Epp Library, page 30. Any questions on those? Take that as information. We have the correspondence in regards to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police proposal for a new program, the RDI 911, page 32. Any discussion on this? Mr. Workington, do you have anything to add to this request?
I would like to add this. This was brought to my attention back at the end of August. The program that's being suggested is actually sponsored by MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, that has partnered with local jurisdictional RCMP detachments. The suggestion was from Harold Laniga, the staff sergeant for the Steinbach detachment, that they would like to work with the city to implement this program within Steinbach. At this point, we have been in discussion trying to identify what possible locations for the applicable signage could be, and that's in process at this time.
Do you need any action from council?
No, this is something that I believe we could deal with within the contract that currently is enforced between the city and the RCMP.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this? Take it as information. We have 12A. We have the Police Advisory Group report. Councillor Penner.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The advisory group has a mandate to report twice a year, so I would like to report on the first half of the calendar year, the activities of the RCMP advisory group. To date, we've met 5 times. In January, the group hosted START, S-T-A-R-T, presenter Tammy Thompson. She was a program coordinator for the Selkirk team for at-risk teens. And what we did was then work together with the local RCMP and many different organizations within the city, such as Hanover School Division, Public Health, CFS, the SRSS campus administrator, and various groups. Decision was made to move forward with beginning the program in our area. In February, in February, we had the I Don't Slow Down, I Stop campaign, and this was very well received, and it helped to reduce bad driving habits in Steinbach and was considered quite a success in public awareness. We were also advised that meth is being sold in Steinbach and that there are petty crimes that are increasing as a result of this drug. As well, we've also had a high number of false alarms lately that have been using considerable police time. In April, there were reports of further meth activity in Steinbach, so that continues to be a problem in Steinbach. Our GIS unit, the General Investigative Section, that Council may recall we have been proponents of, is addressing this issue. Then again, we continued to work on the START program, and seed money was contributed by the Hanover School Division for this. Thefts under $5,000 were up from the last quarter in May, and we had rising numbers in shoplifting and mischief. And again, the staff sergeant believes that it's still a result of drugs being circulated in Steinbach and looking for easy money. Just back to the START initiative, we continue to work on it in Steinbach. It is now called Headway, and a coordinator position has been advertised and someone has been found for that position. So we look forward to the results it can bring for at-risk teens. The last month of June, the advisory group submitted different info from Eden Mental Health, Bethesda Mental Health, local police and hospital personnel regarding our calls for mental health that are done in the area. And we had suggestions that we were forwarding to AMM through Mayor Chris Gertson, and we were very happy to do so. Those main suggestions were, one, to have security staff at the health facility, that they attain police officer status so that they can take charge of the people that are brought to the health centers, or have police call a mental health worker to attend and assess calls. And number 3 was to train police officers in mental health assessment. So those were some of the suggestions we came up with to deal with the large amount of time that our police officers are spending on mental health issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Councillor Penner at this time? Seeing none. Thank you, Councillor Penner, for your work on that committee. And Councillor Funk. We'll then move to 12B, the notice of motion from Councillor Penner.
I'll just hand that out.
You are able to speak not to the motion, but just state why you would like to bring this forward if you'd like. You don't speak to the motion, though, specifically.
I think I'll just make following up with a few weeks ago, following up.
Okay. Thank you. Just a point of clarification, Councillor Penner. This, after, I guess, 3 weeks ago, we spoke about it. Today, Tuesday, at 4:31, I received your notice of, or a proposed notice of motion, which is slightly different than the one that's presented here now. Is there any clarification that you want, or is this?
No, I just sent it to the city administrator just to make sure it was in proper format.
Okay.
He helped me format it.
The reason I ask is the one at 4:31 today would have not required a notice of motion, would have just had a discussion, but this one now will require notice, so we won't have a discussion today. Okay.
Right.
Good. Thank you. Then that'll be on the agenda for 2 weeks' time. Then a motion to adjourn, please. Councillor Fair, second by Councillor Funk. Any discussion? Call for the question. All those in favor? Carried.